Today's video, we will talk about predictive audiences for LinkedIn and how they're a great replacement for the lookalikes campaigns that LinkedIn axed a few months ago. So it actually work even better than the lookalikes even did before, because I have data on both. With that said, I will tell you exactly how to set these up, a little bit more about how they function. And then of course, if you stay to the end of the video, I have a great case study here for you that goes over the results where we proved out just how profitable these are and gives you an idea of yourself when you try it for yourself. I will go over that and more in a minute here. Before I get into the content, if you do not know who I am Corey Ziman, owner of Guaranteed PPC, an online advertising agency that specializes in guaranteeing results for their clients. That is, we do not charge our clients management fees until we can get them a certain minimum lift in the profitability, basically in excess of the management fees that we charge at our agency. We are the only agency out there doing anything like this, which should tell you something about the quality of the information on this video. So with that said, getting into the content. Like a lookalikes audience on Facebook that, basically you could say, hey, look at all the people that came to my website, Facebook, and find out what makes them all unique. Get my ad in front of people that have those same traits that line up commonly with the people that go to my website. You could give LinkedIn a list of your customers and they will match you with more people that look like your customer on their platform. And they have thousands of ultimate data points on their users on the platform, what they click on, what they like, what websites they visited, on and on and on. And when you give them your customer list, they look at all those customers that match up with the customers that are on LinkedIn, the traits that your customers have had, then get your ad in front of similar people that have similar traits. With that, nothing has changed in terms of lookalikes targeting, and all that LinkedIn has basically did is change it to predictive audiences in terms of the label. It does work better though, so it isn't just a name change per se. This is incredibly useful as it avoids having to use marketing lists or advanced targeting to find your customer on the LinkedIn platform. I've done it a lot in the past on LinkedIn. We would, for instance, go to data brokers and we would first of all find out who is it that buys our product or service. What traits do they have? And you could go to a company like Axicom, which is the biggest one. I would recommend going to them with your customer list, and they'll tell you of the 40,000 unique individual traits that they track on the US population that people have, which ones are the most common ones that pop up on your customer list that you gave them. Then you could take that and go to the ad platforms, including LinkedIn, and target people that have those traits. Basically gets rid of the need of doing that for the most part. Not in all situations, but in a good chunk of them. Also, of course, on LinkedIn, you could go ahead and target people that are a member of a certain organization or group. There's different ways that you could target on LinkedIn, but you don't need to be a sleuth at this stuff. You can actually just upload your customer list. And with the predictive audiences system that LinkedIn has, you don't need to worry about all the small details, assuming you have a big enough customer list. What's big enough is basically you need to have at least 30,000 names, customer lists, in order for this to work well, as per what I found at our agency, given that the match rate itself is not great. You're only going to match up, if you have a list of 30,000 names, you may only be able to target 5,000 of them on LinkedIn. That's their so-called match rate that they have. So, and the machine learning algorithm that LinkedIn has doesn't do very well with lists of 5,000 or less that match up. So that's kind of like the cutoff point where it does well. But if you have a customer list at least that size, you don't need to worry about advanced targeting and so forth. You can pretty much just give it your customer list and you should be good in terms of who it is that your ad needs to get shown to and in front of. Or should I say, especially if you don't need so much of an instant return, given the system can do a little bit of testing on their own. If you need an immediate return, then yes, I would refer more to manual targeting again. So you can be as efficient as possible right away, even though the predictive audiences algorithm / system that LinkedIn has, it actually is really good at getting you a decent return pretty much right away. So with that said, I have a case study here that I mentioned I was going to go over, it was a financial planner. Before we go into the results we got with them, when we compare the results we got with and without the predictive audiences used as our targeting method on our LinkedIn ads campaign that was working before, if you haven't subscribed to this channel already, you absolutely should if you're serious about making real money with ads, because the information I'm giving you here on this particular channel is given to you by somebody who spends 40 hours a week doing ad strategy at our firm to figure out how to guarantee our clients results at our firm. And I give you for free all the methods, the knowledge, all of it that work. And so if you're trying to get information straight from the source from somebody actually doing the work, you're going to get it on this channel, which 95% of the guys that are talking about ads on YouTube even, they're not really running any ads themselves. So they run a couple ads. They really don't have broad-based knowledge. And therefore, the information's basically useless. I manage no less than about 50 different accounts at any given time. And I've been doing it over a decade, so I've been abreast of all these different changes that have been going on and all the latest and greatest stuff I talk about on this video, as well as stuff that doesn't work. Subscribe if you're serious about making money with ads. Furthermore, you should check out my blog while you're at it at guaranteedppc.com/blog. The blog has step-by-step information on how to actually guarantee results for yourself, given that these are the strategies we use to guarantee results for our clients, with the screenshots, with the step-by-step instructions, everything you need to be able to use them for your own company as well. If you have any questions, by the way, about anything I'm covering here, or any ad or marketing related question for that matter, you can leave me a comment in the comment section below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a question or comment on this channel, usually within 24 hours time. So don't feel afraid at all to ask me a question. I'm more than happy to answer them. Getting back to the case study here, for this particular financial planner, which we were running an ad for quite a while on the platform for this client, and our general pitch was plan your early retirement. So somebody, which makes sense why it would work, right? If you're on the LinkedIn platform and you're a professional, you see an ad that says plan your early retirement. I want an early retirement. So it's a good hook, which all good advertising has a good hook. And it doesn't, a lot of times you could sell what you have as is because it's exciting enough. And maybe it's so much better than any other solution in the market. It'll stand on its own. However, a lot of the times, most of the time, you got to come up with a good hook to run display advertising of any type, because that is what's going to get a high response rate from the user. So what you do is you say what you know that will get their attention. And then once you got their attention, that's the time when you can sell what you have to the user directly. And so plan your retirement early. They would click this ad. We would drive them to a landing page. It would explain how they're going to be able to do this. We had a sales video on the page, and then a magic button that would show up, 3/4 the way through the video. We get on the phone with a consultant that would talk to you about how to actually make this possible in the same way. They gave examples during the video. Anyway, that is basically the general offer and company and niche that we're talking about for this case study and example here. Now, as far as that goes, what we started out with was what I mentioned earlier, what you should typically do if you want to get results with ads. That is, if you don't have a big customer list where you actually take the customer list you have. Let's say you have 5,000 customers. It's not big enough to really use the predictive audiences on LinkedIn by itself, but it's enough to go to find out what the information about your customers that you need to make ads work for you online still when you're able to target different traits and features and demographics individually. So you take your email address list to Axicom, you give it to them, they tell you the traits of what makes your customers unique, how old they are, what job titles they have, what hobbies they have, do they have a family member or family? Do they not have a family? That is, do they have kids or not? All these different things. And so that's what we did with this company as well, because we wanted to figure out how to narrow our ads so they're profitable. We did that for this company and used that data in LinkedIn to do our targeting, which a lot of people don't think they can do business to consumer offers on LinkedIn. It's just selling to businesses, and that's not the case at all. You can, if you are a personal finance guru or wealth manager or anything like that, that's a great place, as what we've proven, to advertise is on LinkedIn, because it has a captive audience, has very few bot clicks. It's just a great place to advertise. Anyway, what we did was on LinkedIn for this offer, as I just described earlier, we targeted people by job title and age itself. So, because we found out through adding the customer list that we had and giving that to Axicom, there are certain job titles on there that just popped up way more frequently than others, which was very interesting. The client had some individual idea of this, 3 to 4 job titles that for some reason, those people came to our client and they closed at a high rate, which you find that a lot in different companies. You could have 2 companies, you could have 2 financial planners. One, trends hard with people that are older female, another that trends hard with younger male. And it's really just about the person they're dealing with, the salesperson and the offer itself, how it's pitched. So that's why it's good to give your customer list to a data enrichment company like Axcom being the biggest one, and find out what these micro trends are, because you'll save yourself a ton of money in ad spend, wasted ad spend when you don't need to. Or more importantly, you could get to a lower cost per lead much faster so that you don't have to do as much testing to find a campaign that's going to be profitable for you to run at the end of the day. So with that said, our cost per action or cost per lead was right around $107 a lead running that campaign on LinkedIn already. So in and itself was profitable still. Not amazingly profitable, but still profitable. I bring this up because I wanted to compare doing targeting like this to the predictive audiences targeting, which when we started working with this company, they didn't have a very big customer list. Recently, we tested out this feature and they have a much bigger customer list because we've scaled them up over the years and we were actually able to use this. They had a customer list that was much, much larger. They actually have a lot of agents. So tens of thousands of customers or clients was doable for this particular financial planner, given that it's a financial planner agency that has a bunch of financial planners there at the company. Just to be clear about the situation, this type of company, so on and so forth. For that matter, the cost per lead now, what do you think the cost per lead did when we switched from targeting the job titles and age demographics that we knew matched up with our typical customer list to the narrow or the predictive audiences on LinkedIn? Specifically, and just so that you know, when you set up a predictive audience, you can actually market to people that are basically, like if you're targeting the United States, you could target people that are 1% of the United States or 10% of the United States based upon how there's a slider on there, similar to how Facebook does it. And the 1% is going to get you somebody who's a closer correlative match to your customer list than somebody who's the 10% on the 10% side of things. So we did 3 notches over. So basically around 3% of the US population, we targeted them 3%. And then of the most correlated, the people that were the most correlated with our customer list that we uploaded specifically itself. And of that, we got to a $52 cost per lead. So we literally dropped our cost per lead in half, a little more than half, just by using the predictive audiences on LinkedIn. So they work. In other words, moral of the story here is very, very well to drop lead cost because LinkedIn has a lot of data on their users. They understand just by watching, there's a lot of LinkedIn tags on websites. They can see what websites people visit. They know what articles they're clicking on. They know what they're commenting. They know everything about their work history. There's a lot of stuff that they know itself. So, and there's a lot of stuff they know they don't let you necessarily target in the normal targeting options on your account in the advanced targeting. So that's a perfect example of how well this basically will work. Since then, we've used it with some other clients and gotten also success with them that I didn't actually write down on this particular whiteboard as far as case studies, but the results are not similar, but they're better than what we're typically going to get with the manual targeting. So more often than not, you can count on this increasing your ROI on your campaign. Not only that, but it can also increase your conversions, conversion volume. Incredible thing in this case was not only did we drop our lead cost, but we also increased the number or volume of conversions 160% plus on top of it. So not only did it find out how to cut the people that basically just did not have traits, even though they have the job title, the age that normally matches up with people that are on our customer list, but it also found how to get us more placement. And for that matter, when it makes sense, because if the algorithm understands more who the home run prospects are for us, they're going to make sure our ad's really going to get shown to those people. Whereas before it was kind of hit and miss because there's no guarantee you're going to get shown to somebody. That And they're just going to understand more ways to get in front of people that aren't predicated on a job title. They're predicated on websites that someone visits or something somebody types in on the comment section or says via the messaging app within LinkedIn or whatever. So this was a major increase in results that we got. I mean, this completely changed the game on the LinkedIn campaign that we were running, switching over to predictive audiences itself. And I'm not saying you're going to get this kind of a grand slam result for yourself, but it is possible. We proved it out. So it doesn't cost very much to try it out. Generally speaking, with what we found with other clients is you're not going to get that kind of result, certainly. You're not going to get the cost per lead to drop quite as much. You're not going to get quite as much of an increase in sales, but you'll get double-digit changes in your numbers just by switching over to this, assuming you're in a niche where it's kind of hard to narrow and hone in on your audience, if you will. If you're targeting, let's say, in HR management software targeted to HR managers, well, the manual or advanced targeting is already going to be pretty good. Your predictive audiences is not going to help you out as much. If you're selling financial planning services, in that particular case, it's going to help a ton because there's no clear-cut audience to really target somebody there. It's very gray area stuff in terms of how do you target somebody who is going to be apt to want to be able to talk to somebody about retirement that's when they're not even on that platform at all for that type of thing, even though it is still profitable to do that. For that matter, if you are unsure if it will work for you, you can always reach out to me at my agency at guaranteedppc.com, and we can either do a coaching consulting session or we'll set you up a campaign and guarantee your results so that you aren't paying our agency unless you get to a certain minimum result for yourself. We don't take on just any client and offer them that guarantee, but we can at least find out if it's possible to do that for you, and you won't know unless you reach out to me. We also, though, on top of that, sell ad templates. If we've already worked in your niche market before, we could just straight out sell you the ads, the landing pages, the campaign templates, all of it that work for your niche market. And you could literally just copy paste that into your ad account and get the same results we have. We've worked in over 100 different niche markets individually in the last decade plus of running this firm, so the chances are quite high. We've already got the template that you want and can tell you the results you're going to get with it up front because we've already used it in a different city or country that you're in, making it fair game to use it in your geography, wherever you're at. So if you're interested in that, you can also reach out to me at my firm and I'll let you know what we have there. We've got people that use these templates, by the way, to just start other businesses. The easiest way to start a business is to take the template of a business that you're interested in entering, ramp it up, and then just figure out how to offer that product or service around the template versus maybe this will work, maybe it won't. It's like almost guaranteed success at that point in time. For that matter, though, I pretty much went over predictive audiences, what I could tell you about this. Now, you can actually do predictive audience targeting with just an email list or form submission, LinkedIn ad form submission even. I would, generally speaking, not recommend doing that too much unless your submissions, really are quality. You've got all the junk leads weeded out. In other words, at least for what we found, you took your CRM system, you found the leads that truly were qualified, and then you upload them, which makes it, you have a much smaller list now, and then maybe with that you don't have, 30,000 names to upload, but you ultimately, if you are going to do it, that's what we found that the direction you're going to want to go. You can't just put all your leads in there and get the result that you want because the algorithm is going to get confused with the crappy leads that are in there and ultimately not give you the benefit of doing it at the end of the day versus other manual targeting methods using the advanced targeting itself. Other than that, that's the main thing I could tell you about the predictive audiences, how well they work. They do work better than the lookalikes audiences that LinkedIn used to have and substantially better. I don't understand why LinkedIn didn't just make the lookalikes audiences better and how this is specifically different on the back end, but it certainly is different than what it was with the regular lookalike audiences that they had. So if you tried lookalike audiences before, you couldn't get it to work, try this basically. But with that said, I'm going to pretty much wrap it up with that. Thank you very much for watching as usual, and I'll see you on the next one.
Remember when I said lookalike campaigns was important during this video? Well, this video here tells you how to do it.